Okay, we will get started for now. My name is Jackie from Nordic Innovation House Singapore, and I will be your host today. So those who are new to us, we are actually a community platform accelerating high quality Nordic tech companies in Singapore and Southeast Asia. And we also have offices in Silicon Valley, New York, Hong Kong, and also Tokyo. It is my great pleasure to warmly welcome you to our Smart and Sustainable Cities Virtual Market Entry Program Partner Info Webinar with JTC Corporation. They are a government agency under Singapore's Ministry of Trade and Industry, paving the way forward for Singapore's industrial landscape by championing clean, green, and smart estates. So please note for all participants that all participants will be automatically muted, and we will have a Q&A session at the end. So if you have any question, please post your questions in the Q&A function. And this session will also be recorded, and all presentations seen today will be shared with you in the next 24 hours. So for today's agenda, we will have a welcome intro to our Smart and Sustainable Cities program by Mark Perry, sector expert at the Embassy of Denmark, Singapore. And then followed by the JTC team, we will have Nee Yihan, Senior Project Manager from the Smart District Division, sharing about JTC and also Pongo Digital District, followed by Cassandra Mun, Project Manager, to share about Jurong Innovation District and also the Woodlands North Coast. And then lastly, we have Lee Chun Kiat, Manager under the New Estates Division, to share more about One North. And then we will have a closing event. We do have questions already received from our attendees, so we will also address some of the questions that were provided earlier. So without further ado, I would like to introduce Mark to share with us about the program.
Thanks, Jackie, and welcome to everyone who's listening in. Next slide, yeah. I'll try to keep this as short as possible because I know everyone's more interested in hearing from JTC anyway. So I'm just going to give a quick introduction to the program. So first of all, why Singapore? Singapore is a city-state where there's a national agenda to focus on smart cities developments and actions to tackle climate change. So there's a strong political agenda to promote these solutions. And also there's a rich environment of smart city developers and project developers who are looking for innovative solutions to secure their competitiveness and also to do business in the region. And with regards to business in the region, Singapore is definitely a gateway to Southeast Asia and Asia Pacific in general. Next slide, please. So what does this program offer? It basically offers you to connect with about 10 to 15 different partners within Singapore's ecosystem, potentially more, in very dedicated info sessions and also potential one-on-one follow-up meetings. So we have a very good mix of public and private developers and building owners, government agencies, distributor system integrators, consultants, and we also have some info sessions about Asia in general. So we're focusing on smart buildings and estates, green and sustainable buildings. There's a focus on districts as well, which is what JTC will cover. And yeah, we're looking for solutions, or actually the Singaporean side is looking for solutions on building management, sensors, and so on. You can see the list here, and I believe the slides will be shared afterwards, right, Jackie?
Yeah, correct.
Perfect. Next slide, please. Yeah, so besides the webinars where the different partners will introduce their challenge statements, participants in this market entry program will also have an opportunity to showcase their solutions. to do matchmaking meetings with potential clients and investors. And as part of the program, participants will receive a 12-month follow-up support by Nordic Innovation House after the program. Next slide, please. So what we want to try to make this as specific as possible. So we're working with our partners in Singapore to come up with very concrete problem statements, which the delegation will then address in the meetings and events we're lining up. Next slide, please. So this is just to give you an idea of the timeline. Today is the JTC Partner Info webinar. We're open for applicants. The end of the application period is 31st of August. We don't have too much planned in July. We know that this is when the Nordics go on summer holidays. So we'll kick things off again in August with some introduction webinars to our partners and their challenge statements. HDB, Housing Development Board in Singapore, will also give an info webinar with a similar format to what JTC is doing today. On the 7th of September, we'll announce our final selection of Nordic companies, and then we'll proceed to do some preparation work, individual coaching sessions, and then the program weeks will kick off the 1st and 2nd week of November. Afterwards, we'll support you with follow-up meetings, and as I mentioned previously, you'll also receive a 12-month support from Nordic Innovation House in Singapore. Next slide, please. This is just a more detailed overview of what will actually happen the first 2 weeks, the 2 weeks the program is running for. So week 1 will be the different partner sessions, and week 2 will be more on the individual one-to-one meetings. I think we can go to the next slide, Jesse. This is for reference, some of the partners we're looking into onboarding. Quite a few of them have agreed already. So we have a good mix of commercial, private entities, government agencies, which are important in Singapore, academia, and also regional opportunities through Asian Development Bank and UNDP. Next slide, please. As mentioned, the application deadline is 31st of August. There's an info deck and application form you can click on here. Eligible companies include companies from Finland, Sweden, Norway, Iceland, and Denmark. And of course, you need to have solutions that address the challenge statements within this entry program. Questions, most importantly, if you have any questions, this is the email address and you'll get a reply straight away from Jackie. Next slide. In case you want to see what previous market entry programs offered, there's a list here with some links you can click on, some good case stories and so on. I won't go into too much details about this. Next slide, please. And in case you want to reach out to some of the organizers, here are our contact information. So of course, this is co-organized by the different Nordic representations in Singapore, Embassy of Denmark, Embassy of Finland, Business Sweden, Innovation Norway, Business Iceland. So if you're a Danish company, you can write to me. Finnish companies can write to my colleague Riku, and so on. Next slide. I already mentioned the partners. I think we can move on.
Okay, so
That's it for me.
Yep. So that's about our Smart and Sustainable Cities market entry program happening in November. So I think our colleague has pasted the details. If you want to know more about the program structure and how to apply, please look at the links in the chat itself. So next we would like to have from JTC, Nee Yihan, to introduce about JTC and the Pongo Digital District.
Thanks, Jackie. Thanks, Mark, for your introduction. Let me just bring out my slides for Pongo Digital District, that's PDD. Can you see my slides and hear me?
Yes. Yes.
Great. So thanks for having me today. I think this is my second time working with Nordic Innovation House to share about JTC's projects. Very briefly, I'll bring you through some of JTC's upcoming projects and perhaps share some of what we think our future smart cities and smart buildings will be like. But before I do so, just a brief introduction about JTC as a whole. I think Jackie shared we are actually a government agency under the Singapore Ministry of Trade and Industry. And our role as part of the government is to build infrastructure and to develop systems that would help support the industrial development of Singapore. So for example, I think most famously you would have heard of Jurong Island in Singapore. Jurong Island is one of Singapore's petrochemical hubs that JTC helped to build and support in terms of land reclamation as well as infrastructure. And on it, we invite companies to come in to set up their businesses and factories. So this is what we're doing across the entire Singapore. And through the years, we are not just in charge of building the buildings and the infrastructure, but we've also come to become thought leaders about how such new buildings and business parks can be sustainable and also be a space for communities to come together to interact and build ecosystems. So JTC, as a real estate landlord, we own about 10% of all industrial land in Singapore. So about 7,000 hectares of land with 4 million square meters of building space available for both local Singapore companies as well as foreign companies to set up a presence in Singapore. And JTC has 4 current what we call large-scale business parks that are that is part of our main focus, our main portfolio. I think One North would be most popular amongst our foreign friends here. One North is actually a already existing business park that my colleague Chun Kiat will share about later. The next 2 are Jurong Innovation District, focusing on advanced manufacturing, and Woodlands North Coast, focusing on general industries. And I'll be further sharing about Pongo Digital District, where the focus is digital and cybersecurity industries. So all of them, we are focusing on having them be future-ready business parks with great accessibility to transportation. And we are focusing all of them to have a work, live, play, learn integrated component. And of course, the learn aspect comes from being closely located next to an institute of higher learning or university or other sort of schools where the academics and the industrialists can come together to cooperate. So my part of the presentation, I'll share more about Pongo Digital District. So Pongo Digital District, as I shared, we are looking at providing a space for the future expansion in the Singapore economy, where we think cybersecurity, AI, and robotics, blockchain, fintech, and smart living will grow in the next few years. And we want to provide a space for that. And on top of that, actually, within the whole government, PDD has actually been designated as a strategic national project, as a physical showcase for Singapore's smart nation initiatives. So we want to create a space where we can test bed and lay the foundations for the future smart building, smart district architecture, and use it to go on to replicate it around the country. And within PDD, we are focusing on 3 unique selling points. Number 1 is the ready access to talent. Number 2 is the meaningful partnerships that companies and workers in PDD will be able to make. And number 3, of course, are the test bidding opportunities available to companies that do want to come into PDD. So number 1 is about the talent. So I shared before that JTC's future business park strategies are all about residing business park spaces next to universities. So what PDD is PDD is co-locating itself next to the future new campus of the Singapore Institute of Technology. So this is one of the universities in Singapore, and they have a strong degree, bachelor degree program in engineering, food tech, infotech, and health and social sciences. So with this, there will be about 12,000 students and 500 faculty members located in the northeast of Singapore. Now, the Pongo area in Singapore is also a relatively new residential area, and it's home to about 160,000 people with very, very young and educated talent. This is one of the newer residential areas in Singapore, and a lot of young families have moved here in the recent years. So this is where the pool of talent for this PDD business park will likely come from. And number two, building these meaningful partnerships. So we look at partnerships through 4 different areas. Number one, it's government agencies. So with the focus on cybersecurity, actually the government agency that deals with cybersecurity, the Cybersecurity Agency of Singapore, will actually be moving their headquarters to PDD as an anchor to spearhead and lead this new ecosystem. So number two, the partnerships with the Institute of Higher Learning and Research Institutes. We are focusing on this area as well, hoping to work with academics and other companies to do joint R&D to tap on the talent available, as well as any funding grants available. And also the co-location of both facilities will allow the different people in PDD to share and to share each other's facilities to reduce the cost of expenditure and cost of operations. And number three, we are also targeting working with the various industry associations in Singapore, such as the Association of Info Security Professionals, where we hope that through their network of companies, we'll be able to reach out to more people. And lastly, because there's a very strong residential aspect in PDD, we hope that companies can work with the People's Association, which is sort of like a local NGO, and to build out this community partnerships and to even leverage on them to work on their CSR opportunities. And number three, I shared about the test bedding opportunities. So PDD being the reference architecture and the future strategic national project of Singapore, we are building what we call an open digital platform in Pongo. And what it actually is a smart city operating system. It's a one single platform that will allow JTC as the landlord to command and control all the different building systems, such as lifts, cameras, escalators, and security systems in PDD from one single platform, and allow us to optimize them and to provide building and district data to academics and companies alike that wish to use them to do research, R&D, or product development. And we are even allowing the ODP to be used as a platform for microservices where companies can come in to do testing and deploy them in a virtual environment before deploying them in PDD. And on top of that, we are also building a smart grid in PDD. And this is actually a small localized smart energy grid system that will allow PDD to have grid resiliency and allow us to optimize our energy consumption locally. And also we are looking to open up this grid for testing energy-related solutions, such as perhaps new forms of solar panel technology or battery technology, or even waste to energy systems that can be deployed on site. And other than all those three things, PDD will also be a exciting lifestyle destination with a lot of green spaces, amenities, and retail options, allowing it to be an integrated experience center. And also we are providing a lot of digital experiences through providing things like digital reception, biometric access, as well as autonomous delivery robots. So PDD will also be very accessible. I think that was one of our key strategies in business park development as well. So being close to the Singapore City central area, as well as less than 200 meters from the Mass Rapid Transit, which is our local subway system. And as part of the sustainability targets that we are setting across JTC, within PDD, we are looking at targeting 30% less energy consumption and water consumption, and 50% less waste generated, as well as installing over 10,000 square meters of solar panels and using that to generate solar energy. So these are our targets to address sustainability in our district. Of course, surrounding the PDD, we are having a lot of other existing amenities as well to make the lifestyle there more exciting. So this is the northeast of Singapore for our foreign friends here. And that is the approximate area where PDD is. So PDD will actually have about 10 office towers that will be built. JTC as a landlord, we are building about 8 towers first. And because of the recent COVID pandemic as well, I think we are scaling back our projections of office space demand. So we are looking at about 7 to 8 towers first before we build out the full 10 in the near future. But otherwise, this development will be ready in 2024. And that is where we expect companies to start moving in. And we already have a few key companies putting down their signatures to take up office space in PDD. So just a few brief pictures of what PDD will look like in 2024. A 800-meter long pedestrianized street separating the JTC Business Park as well as the SIT University campus. What it look like? We are retaining a lot of the existing trees in the area and hopefully to retain it to promote green environments in the area as well. And lots of retail and dining options for the different people in the area. And providing waterfront areas, what we call market village, for the community to relax and unwind. And these are just general artist impressions of what the building and business park will look like in the future, with a lot of green features such as retaining trees and adding more planter boxes on each level. We are also closely integrating the physical development of both the business park as well as the university to encourage more interactions and chance encounters with both workers and students, so as to promote more collaboration in the future. I think that's the end of my presentation. Just a brief overview of what are our goals in building PDD and what it will look like in the future.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, Yihan, for sharing about PDD. Next, we have Cassandra. So I'll be helping Cassandra to share her slides. Cassandra, can you hear us?
Yes. Thanks, Jackie. Hi, everyone.
Hi, okay, give me a moment to full screen. Okay, is this good?
Yes, this is good. Great. Thanks, Jackie. Yeah, hi, everyone. I'm Cassandra from JTC. So I'm part of New Estates Division 1, which looks at the development of Jurong Innovation District as well as Woodlands North Coast. Yeah, so I believe Yihan has shared more on JTC and what we do. So I'll be going more in depth into these two estates. All right, next. Okay, so briefly, just touching on this, Yihan might have gone through this, is that our new estates has a certain common trend throughout all of it. And what we are looking at is really in these 4 areas. Firstly is a district level service that we are looking at to enhance efficiency in the new estates. The second part is our new estates are all very near MRT stations, and that's really to enhance the connectivity as well as promote a car light environment. And thirdly, of course, it is vibrant and walkable. As you have seen from Yihan's presentation, I think the new estates are looking very different from the traditional brick and mortar factories that we might traditionally associate industrial estates with. And of course, last but not least, it is in very close proximity to IHLs, Institutes of Higher Learning. And that is where we see where our talent pool comes from. Yes. So moving on, I'll zoom into Jurong Innovation District, Woodlands North Coast. So what really is different between these different new estates that we are looking at is the focus area. So for Jurong Innovation District, the focus is on advanced manufacturing as well as I 4.0. Yeah, and it is one of the unique greenfield sites, not developed and very large in terms of size. So that's about 620 hectares. For Woodlands North Coast, it is up in the north, slightly smaller, about 100 hectares. And currently we are coining it as a general manufacturing with service-oriented activities focus, which means companies who are in the manufacturing sector, but moving towards more service focus or R&D activities. All right. Okay, so moving first into Jurong Innovation District. Okay, so for JID, the vision really is to create an advanced manufacturing hub. And what we mean by that is really that it is a home to an ecosystem of players in the advanced manufacturing sector. So that means companies in the R&D sector, all the way to developers as well as manufacturers, who are able to come together so that they can exchange ideas. And it's an entire value chain that we are looking at. So we see this as a critical factor in powering innovation as well as promoting growth in the manufacturing sector. But this is the map overview of where Jurong Innovation District is. As you can see, it is rather large, 600 hectares in the west of Singapore. It is defined by 5 different precincts. So the first is NTU, Nanyang Technological University, which is our IHL partner. Secondly, Cleantech Park. So this is 60 hectares. It has been there for about 11 years now. And for Cleantech Park, the focus is more on research and development. And currently our focus is in Bulim. Bulim is where a lot of the ongoing construction works are. And it is where we see a lot of factories such as Shimano, or if you have heard Hyundai Motor Company, it will also be situated in Bulim as well. For Bahar as well as Tengah, that will be in the next phase of our development. So at present now, it is still a forested area. Yeah, I think a couple of things to highlight over here. 2 things. Firstly, is the Sky Corridor. So the Sky Corridor is the one that's outlined in orange. So it links you all the way from the MRT station to different areas within the precinct, as well as across to the other precincts. This is really to build a seamless connectivity from the moment you get out of the MRT station to where you might need to go, so that we are not limited by the expressways in black that runs across the different estates. The second thing to bring our attention to is the purple dotted line. That is our district logistics network. So the district logistics network is where the heavy vehicles or the goods vehicles will come in through the expressway directly underground into the precinct. So all the goods delivery will be done underground, and this is to free up space on grade on the roads, as well as to make it a more pleasant environment without the sighting of these vehicles. Okay, so for the JID ecosystem, we are actually a growing ecosystem with a lot of new companies that are coming in. So existing companies do have quite a number of 3D printing companies like Sodic, a lot of players in the R&D field like Siemens, as well as research institutes like A-Star, McKinsey, etc. And also we do have a lot of interesting manufacturers such as Angel Playing Cards, Shimano, Hyundai, as I mentioned just now, and definitely a growing ecosystem all the way from R&D to manufacturing. Right, so for JID, I think one focus area is really about building a collaborative innovation ecosystem. So beyond putting these companies in close proximity to each other, the other part of JID is really to create different platforms and programs to bring different players together for knowledge exchange and the building of new capabilities. So for example, the Digital Capability Center, it is by McKinsey, situated in Cleantech Park, and it helps companies to look at digitalizing the different processes in their operations, and helping them to adopt it on a larger scale in their own companies eventually. For Sodic, they offer free 3D printing sessions every Wednesdays, and this is really to help the community to look at how 3D printing can enable different innovations and different processes. Yeah. So beyond what was mentioned in terms of the softer part of JID, the collaborations, definitely a critical part is looking at how the infrastructure can support this estate. So previously I mentioned about the district logistics network. Just just one thing to highlight here is that how the vehicles will come in would be they would drive into this building called the distribution center, and over here the goods will be broken into smaller pieces and delivered underground to the different companies. The vision here is that eventually this delivery will be done autonomously, but currently we are still planning for both scenarios. For the Sky Corridor, it has 3 different segregated lanes. That's for walking, cycling, as well as a dedicated corridor, which we envision autonomous vehicles will run on. Yeah, and this is really to promote connectivity within the estate. And last but not least, we are also looking at estate level district cooling system so that we can improve the energy efficiency of cooling the estate. Right, so this gives us a brief a cross-sectional view of how GID looks like. A couple of things I mentioned are here, such as the district logistics network, a Sky Corridor. Other things also includes the use of solar panels, renewable energy systems in our estate, the adoption of a digital twin that we would look at in the estate operation center so that we can monitor the different systems such as cooling systems, building operation systems, etc. Okay, so this is the latest of our development, Woodlands Square. It will be ready sometime in 2023, 2024. So this is where we would say is the heart of a lot of the different new technologies that we are looking at. So the district logistics network Sky Corridor, the first phase of the development and its completion will be concurrent with Woodlands Square. So Woodlands Square is a multi-tenanted building where there will also be autonomous goods corridor so that goods can not only be delivered autonomously to the goods receiving area at the basement, but also within the building. This is where Woodlands Square caters for it as well. These are some of the amenities that we are looking at Woodlands Square also, food courts, shared meeting rooms. And this is what we envision the future of manufacturing will look like. It's not just factories also, but a very livable, very pleasant environment. All right, I'll now move on to Woodlands North Coast, which is the second estate. Yeah, so the key characteristic of Woodlands North Coast is really its location. It is situated very near Republic Poly as well as the northern part of Singapore. And in this area of Singapore, there are a lot of manufacturing spaces, industrial spaces, which are increasingly shifting towards clean manufacturing or more service-oriented manufacturing. And so Woodlands North Coast is where we are intending to allow for more flexibility in how the companies use their space to cater to these needs. It will also be a car light and pedestrian-friendly environment, as you can see on the left. A lot of pedestrian walkways, thoroughfares, as well as boulevards that are very pleasant to work and live in. Right, so this gives a view of the location of WNC. So as I mentioned just now, the location is a critical factor. So because it is very near the RTS, it gives a very good connectivity to Johor Bahru, to Malaysia. And Woodlands, of course, is where companies who have a lot of activities involving these cross-borders collaborations or transportation and deliveries will find very attractive to be situated in this area. All right, so this is the timeline of when it will be completed. So the first two buildings will be completed soon. We're on the way, sometime towards the end of this year. So the whole area will be a mix of industrial developments, commercial developments, as well as business park developments. I think in the future, we are also looking at, perhaps even residential areas near the waterfront area to make this a very vibrant mixed-use development. All right, so these are just some of the specifications for these two buildings. It will be a mix of light as well as heavy manufacturing companies. We do have companies who are coming in, such as Illumina, etc., as well as other tenants who form part of this ecosystem. All right, so these are also the district level and shared infrastructure. So I think the part on the pedestrian thoroughfare and shared resources is common with a Jurong Innovation District, as well as the basement network will also be connecting the first two buildings as well. All right, so in terms of solution needs of what we're looking at to build smart, green and sustainable estates, this is common across both estates. So firstly, is looking at district level solutions to improve estate efficiency. So this we are looking for solutions that on an estate level can improve, say, efficiency in terms of time or energy. So we are introducing the warehouse. We are looking for warehousing and delivery solutions, as I mentioned, for the district logistics network, as well as the distribution center. That's one. Secondly, would be looking at renewable and sustainable energy solutions. So that could be looking at how the different energy streams in Jurong Innovation District or Woodlands North Coast can be integrated, such as how maybe the district cooling systems could be integrated with an outdoor cooling system to enhance the overall energy efficiency in our estate. Others like the pneumatic waste systems, smart grid systems are different solutions that we are happy to explore as well. And of course, a critical part is the monitoring and tracking systems. I think that's always a backbone of whatever solution that we would deploy. But secondly, we're also looking at smart solutions that can enhance our operations as well. That could include biometric solutions, identifications, analytics for facilities management, visitor management, etc. Because autonomous vehicle solutions are something that we're looking at, be it on the Sky Corridor, within the district logistics network or within the building. And last but not least, also we're looking at smart lampposts, smart use cases, as well as what 5G can enable, what solutions 5G can enable as well. All right, and of course, definitely as a slant to sustainability, I think that's something that's gaining increasing traction and something that we are giving more emphasis on. We are placing more emphasis on from in these couple of years, as well as moving forward. So carbon tracking and benchmarking tools is something that we are studying and looking at. One of it would be a life cycle carbon emissions calculator. How do we look at the materials or the processes, in terms of its emission, not only at a snapshot in time, but in its entire life cycle? In terms of managing waste, how do we recycle it? How do we build circular economies for different materials? That is another. And how do we build a EV ecosystem, tapping on, say, solar energy or battery charging, etc. Those are things that we are exploring as well as other alternative renewables solutions. All right, that is all. I do see a question here about new data systems to be connected. Yeah.
Yes, we do have a Q&A.
Okay.
This. Yeah, so we'll address some of the questions later. Can we have Chun Kiat to share more about one-off? So thank you, Cassandra.
All right, thank you.
Hi, I'm Chun Kiat, and I'm from New Estates Division 2, taking care of One North mainly. Okay, so let me just take you through quickly on what One North is about. Okay, so just some brief history. One North was formerly known as the Buona Vista Science Hub. It's a tech hub to promote technopreneurship. It's centrally located in Singapore, in Queenstown. We are near to institutes of higher learning, for instance, the National University of Singapore and also the Singapore Polytechnic. They are just adjacent to the estate. And we are also surrounded by residential areas like the Dover and Holland Road neighborhood. So One North was master planned in 2000. So something different from what Yihan and Cassandra has shared earlier about the estates. We are not new. We have been around. There are three main areas. We were aiming to house knowledge and innovation-based industries here, like you see in the picture here, GSK and several other R&D HQs. We have a mix of labs, offices, homes, parks, and IHLs. And we aim to create a vibrant work, live, play, learn environment here in the estate. So the development concept for One North is a high-tech business district that is meant to be stimulating, creative, and interactive, and centered on the work, live, play, learn development concept. So One North is a 200-hectare mixed-use estate. First, we started off with Biopolis, Fusionopolis, and Mediapolis as our key precincts in One North. They are respectively focusing on biomedical sciences, infocom media, and ICT and digital media in Mediapolis. And then alongside these three main work precincts, we have 5 other precincts that focus on different areas of work and other parts of the value chain. So the target industries for One North are mainly the knowledge industries spanning across infocom, media, biomedical, electronics, and startups. So just a quick overview. For infocom media, that's our main core in One North. We have more than 160 infocom and media companies here. The more famous ones, perhaps in the local context here, will be Grab and Razer. They are our local big unicorns. And then we have 5 IHLs here and corporate universities within the estate. So for instance, we have the famous business schools in INSEAD and ESAT here. And we also have the corporate university for Unilever, GSK, and we have the Nanyang Technological University Alumni Club here as well. So maybe I can just highlight one particular precinct briefly here. It's called Launchpad. It's our latest precinct that was carved out in 2015, along with its first phase of development. Okay, it was developed to support the early stage high-tech and innovative startups here in Singapore. As of today, we have more than 800 startups here in Launchpad precinct at One North. And they are mainly focusing on the biomedical, ICT, and media industries. So alongside those 800 startups, we also have more than 50 enablers, accelerators, and incubators here to really help grow the startup community here in Launchpad. So they help to provide a development support, they mentor the young companies, and provide financing solutions and support for them, and also to help guide them on market access as well. So as of 2018, our last data gathering exercise, we have 77% of startups here that have developed, licensed, or acquired IP in the following areas such as AI, fintech, biotech, and robotics as well. So you could see in the previous picture, actually in this area, these used to be the old feather factories that JTC developed as part of its development phase at that time, where we were focusing on high-rise feather factory buildings. Okay, so these are the old ones from 1970s and 80s. And then we have refreshed them to repurpose some of the existing feather factory buildings as this launchpad precinct. We have several buildings here that were converted from these feather factories. And we have built a phase 2, which is the lower rise ones you see in the foreground here, the yellow and the purple and orange buildings. They were built ground up from scratch. So with this, Launchpad Phase 1 was officially reopened in 2015, and is focusing on these, is centered on these higher learning institutions, high-tech industry clusters, corporate organizations and enablers and incubators here to provide a more integrated ecosystem for the entrepreneurship community in Singapore. So as of today, we have about 5,500 workers here in the precinct. So One North today, we see and we hope for it to be, a vibrant community of knowledge workers in R&D, development, researchers, and also including entrepreneurs and students here in the estate. So far, we have brought in about $8 billion worth of investments. That's about 6 billion USD. And we have more than 400 leading companies here in One North. That includes like Apple, ESPN, P&G, of course, Lucasfilm was there, but they have their development has been sold to another entity recently. And we have our local unicorns, as mentioned earlier, like Grab and Razer as well. So in terms of these investments, they are mainly Infocom and Media, about 2.8 billion Sing dollars. And biomedical research is $900+ million, coming up to $1 billion. Yeah. So we have 50,000 knowledge workers here in One North. The main proportion of them are still in the Infocom and Media, making up 40% of the total workforce here, and is equally split between biomedical and startups in the next largest categories here in One North. And of course, we also have some physical engineering trades and activities here as well. So they make up the smaller percentages here in the estate. So when One North first started, we were quite glad that within 2 years, JTC had managed to achieve a 79% occupancy rate, and it had continued to grow. As of 2018, it was 93.8, but over the last 10 years or so, it has been floating around 92 to 95% across the estate. So we are quite glad to have these quite good occupancies here. And also, we also see a rising trend in terms of the business park spaces, their market rents. So when it first started, it was about 25 Sing dollars per square meter per month. And over time, it grew to about 45 per square meters per month in 2018. So One North also is quite focused on test building opportunities for new technologies. Okay, so we have also managed to secure some innovations here. We were the first estate in Singapore for the testing of autonomous vehicles on public roads in Singapore. So Newtonomy was one of our first movers here in One North. And then here's just to share a short video on Motional. They are our latest AV company. Oh, sorry, it's a bit laggy, but yeah. Motional is the latest one running their tests on One North roads here. So you can see in the background some of the One North developments like Fusionopolis 1 and 2. This is Biopolis. Yeah, so these Motional AVs have been running across our roads in One North and trying to run their tests and gather data to better refine their product over time. Yeah. So subsequent to that, we are also the first drone estate in Singapore to allow drone enthusiasts and organizations to fly their drones here as long as they have the necessary approvals from the Civil Aviation Authority of Singapore. They can fly their drones here in One North without any further approvals or documentation required. So we are happy to support these drone activities here in One North. And some of the other innovations that we have done over the years are some of the estate management and also construction technologies. So this is the Big Belly waste disposal system. We also have the smart street lamp post that integrate sensors for data gathering and analytics purposes. And we have also piloted the cross-laminated timber frame construction technology at Launchpad Phase 2, the yellow building that you might have recalled seeing earlier. Yeah, so this was made of wood essentially. Yeah. So some of the more recent ones, the more recent trials that we have was this smoking cabin, where actually the people will go inside to smoke. And then it helps to reduce air pollution to the neighborhood, especially because One North, like many estates in Singapore, they are very densely packed. So this was one of the tests carried out in the last 1 year. And currently, we also have this on-demand shuttle bus service system. So just to share a bit more, One North has almost always had a shuttle service to ply the estate, taking workers from the main MRT stations like Buona Vista and One North to their work buildings like MediaCorp, for instance, our national broadcaster. So this on-demand shuttle bus service was a new trial for people to book the bus service via a mobile app, okay? And the bus will come and take them to their desired location. So it's something like a taxi kind of service, but it's using a bus and it's on demand. So it's something that the test is ongoing, and so far we have received quite good feedback on it, and we are looking to continue implementing this in the near term ahead as well. Yeah, so as to support the infra and the hardware that we have in One North here, we also have been looking at community building events and activities to promote social and intellectual vibrancy here, because we have such a good concentration of great minds. In One North, we have your researchers, we have your business school students, we have your entrepreneurs. So we looked at community building to bring these demographics together, for both social and intellectual interactions. So some of these events are the regular programs like Fantastic Fridays, where they are smaller programs that get small groups of people together for certain interest groups or hobbies. And then we also have the larger ones like the estate-wide Car Free Weekend, and also the One North Run as well. So you see in this picture, we have also Wessex Estate as a precinct within One North. So this is mainly the residential component of One North, as mentioned in the Work, Live, Play, Learn concept. We have a collection of black and white bungalows here in One North that were left from colonial times. And we have refreshed them and made them available for rent by the public on short-term tenancies. So these bungalows and walkout apartments in the Wessex Estate have added, some color to the neighborhood. When we have more than just like high-rise glass buildings, we have some of these old school charm here as well. So within Wessex Estate itself, we also have this Cafe Cold Bar. It used to be a British Army canteen in the 1950s, and the structure has been retained and repurposed into a cafe that actually quite a lot of the living population in Wessex like to go to this Cafe Cold Bar for their meals. So in the last couple of years, we also look at some evolution of common spaces here in One North. The one that has been done is Timber Plus. So this is just a picture to show you what a typical hawker center is, a usual food center with affordable food that we have in Singapore, where we have many stalls packed in rows. Okay. And we have brought it. We have brought a concept to Timber Plus, which is our F&B node within the Launchpad precinct. So it's a food center by day, and it turns into a bistro by night, where we have live music and stuff like that, where people can gather for activities prior to COVID, of course. Yeah, so this was something that has been quite popular with the population here in One North as well.
Okay, Chun Kiat, we need to wrap up quickly so
Yeah,
that we
okay,
can
sure. I'm ending soon. Yeah. Okay, so moving forward, for One North, we have another 20 odd years of development to go. So we are looking to grow, continue to pursue these three main areas: sustainable real estate development, sustainability in reducing carbon footprint, and also digitalization. So the examples quoted here are some of the areas that we have been working on or are looking at in the near term ahead. Yeah, so that includes like adaptive reuse of buildings, analytics modeling, also reducing carbon footprint in One North as well. Yep, that's all for my part.
Thank you so much for the information on One North. So now we will actually go on to the Q&A. I think we have a couple of questions that are already here. So I do have one is in the group chat now for Jurong GID. So it's more for Cassandra, and I have two more from our attendees on PDD, and then two more that's more open-ended. So perhaps Cassandra, looking at the question, it's about data connectivity in Jurong. Will you require all new data systems, IoT for indoor air quality, etc., to be connected to central systems or some kind of estate-wide data platform of yours?
Okay, sure. Yeah, so I think on that, the short answer is yes. So all these different systems will actually be connected to the open digital platform, which is what Yihan mentioned earlier, that we will be developing in Pongo Digital District. So it is where all the different systems will be connected through. Yeah, so yes.
Okay, thank you. Then we have two questions for PDD. So for Yihan, is the project plan for PDD affected due to the ongoing pandemic?
Yeah, so actually we were planning to complete it in 2023, but I'm not sure if our audience here is familiar with Singapore. Basically, we have a bit of a construction manpower crunch. So our project new target is 2024. So that's about a 1-year delay. And it's not just PDD. I think it's across all construction projects in Singapore.
Okay. Thanks for the information. And then one more question was, what is the key focusing KPIs of PDD?
Yeah, so I think we have very standard occupancy targets to fill up our business park. But in terms of sustainability, probably the more interesting one, I think I shared in my slide, we're looking at 30% energy and water savings compared with our existing buildings as part of JTC's portfolio. So we are hoping to achieve this 30% water and energy savings through a combination of energy and water saving initiatives, and as well as through using technology to optimize operations and to detect mechanical issues before they happen and fix them immediately. So those are our KPIs and how we hope to achieve them.
Okay, thanks. We have two more open-ended questions, so anyone from the JTC team can answer this. So we have one that's about how can we further promote energy-saving technologies to be utilized in Singapore's smart city projects?
I guess I can take that first.
Okay.
So in Singapore, I think almost 40 to 50% of our energy is spent on cooling. After all, we are a tropical country, and there's a lot of heat and humidity. And I think you will realize that I think the most effective way to target energy saving technologies is to target effective cooling methods that would tremendously help Singapore's consumption of energy and improve our efficiency in terms of energy savings. That's probably my comment. Cassandra, you have any other comments on energy savings in Singapore?
Yeah, so I think I echo Yihan. I think definitely cooling is a big thing. I think that's also a reason why we mentioned that for Jurong Innovation District, we are looking at how do we integrate the different energy systems, how do we look at effective energy streams. So it's not only a solution per se, but an integration of different systems. And I think that would be a part where we can improve sustainability and energy efficiency by doing it well and doing it right.
Okay, great. We are short on time, but I think that's more or less the Q&A that we have. So I want to thank the JTC team, Lee Yihan, Cassandra, and Chun Kiat for your time. It has been a very informative 45 minutes session about JTC's key developments in Singapore. So for this Nordic Innovation House Singapore Smart and Sustainable Cities Virtual Market Entry Program, we are glad to have JTC as one of the partners to be part of the program in November. So the program is actually more for the Nordics. So if you're a Nordic company and you think that you have solutions that could help to solve problem challenge statements within JTC's developments and also in Singapore or Southeast Asia, we are more than happy for you to apply for the program. So this session is recorded and the presentation slides will be shared to everyone that has attended in the next 24 hours. So if any question about program, feel free to email us as well. So I'm Jackie, the company manager at Nordic Innovation House Singapore, and I have my colleagues here, Cassandra from Business Sweden, Pakista from Innovation Norway, and Mark from the Danish Embassy, and also colleagues from Business Iceland and Embassy of Finland as well joining us today. So with that, thank you so much and hope everyone have a great week ahead. Thank you.